Hi, everybody. This is day 1740. And I should have named this 20,000 hours. I should have named it 20,000 hours. We were calculating how many hours we have dedicated to this case, to our son's case. Um, so 1,740 days that he was forcibly removed from his barracks there on Fort Bliss. SOPs were not being followed. Intentionally, they were setting up our soldiers. They were absolutely compromising our soldiers intentionally by allowing the barracks to be mismanaged. Uh, just illegal weapons, all kinds of substance abuse. Um, and you say this has been going on for years. Well, they've sabotaged our military for years, for years. And we have a $1 trillion military. This is absolutely not okay. Not okay. If we are going to, as taxpayers, spend uh, $1 trillion on our military, on our national defense, if we think it's that important, then we don't need to be extorted, right? We want our barracks to be the best, and they're not. They are quite the opposite of the best, and because of that, our soldiers, what we experienced when we went on to Fort Bliss, when we spoke to the soldiers, when we spoke to the command, they were in mental decline. they were they were having real mental problems. They were shaking, and I have years, 20,000 hours. I have so many live streams where I would tell you that it was just shocking for us to see the insanity, literally the shaking of our soldiers, the fear in our soldiers, the lack of proper training, the lack, they were just under attack. They were under attack from within, inside the barracks. The barracks shouldn't have a 14-year-old girl living there for 4 months being pimped out, right? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then to take videos and airdrop them and everything, compromising our soldiers so that they cannot be whistleblowers, right? Because they could be blackmailed. All of um, the deaths and the mental health issues and um, the overuse of alcohol. I'm Anglican. I'm German. We like our beer, we like our wine, we love our champagne, our mimosas. But what was going on in the barracks is unacceptable. It's not a place for that. There's a place and time for everything. It's not that. The command sergeant major doesn't need to bring in young girls to party with the soldiers in the barracks. Hell no. Hell no. These are underage girls. They bring in all kinds of substances. It is a trap. It is a trap for our volunteer sons and daughters, um, especially on the border, the southern border, where the criminal trafficking was just out of control, and also known to be on Fort Bliss. So with the weapons and the drugs and the sex cult activities, and that is really describes it, even the doggy masks and all that. This compromising of our soldiers, this attack on our soldiers, on their character, on their mental well-being, on their strength, um, not for their pleasure. This was not for their pleasure. Let me get this. Let me absolutely be very clear. This was intentional to sabotage whistleblowing. This was to sabotage our military. This was to sabotage our national defense. This was absolutely intentional, deliberate attack on our military, on our nation, on our country. And this is why what Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe engaged in, what Major General um, David Stewart engaged in, and Clem Coward and Michael Garrett, what they engaged in was absolute treasonous. Treasonous. And this is very clear in our son's case. Very, very clear. And we have given evidence upon evidence. And someone asked me, instead of pictures, we want the evidence. Well, pictures are evidence, documents are evidence, audio are evidence, audio transcripts are evidence. Day in and day out, our testimony is evident. Other people's testimony is evidence. Um, day in and day out. And we have provided evidence that confirms that the leadership are absolute traitors. And it was, and I meant to even post it today, that Secretary of Defense Hegseth is uh, reducing the four-star generals to 20%, reducing them by 20%. 100% they need to do that. I think we had seven four-star generals during World War II, with 10 times the amount of soldiers we have today. Now we have 44. That needs to be reduced 20%. So that's a good start. It needs to be reduced even further, because, today, with the technology, with the way wars are fought today, with the drone warfare, which absolutely shows that Major General David Stewart absolutely served foreign and domestic enemies instead of having Richard's back. And he just left him out cold, just left our soldier out cold. Um, and it's disgusting. It is really disgusting. And he needs to be held accountable for his treasonous activities. And to be anywhere near our drones technology. He cannot be trusted. He cannot be near it. He cannot be in our uniforms, our beautiful stars, not anywhere near any of our budgets, our $1 trillion military budget. He cannot be anywhere near it because he cannot be trusted. He serves foreign and domestic enemies, and he needs to be held accountable for that. Same thing with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. Same thing with Lieutenant General Donna Martin. And then they need to bring back out of retirement so many others, like General Kelly. Absolutely, they need to be held accountable. And I can, name a bunch of them: McConville, and Mealy, and Austin, and I can name many that are part of this case. Matlock. Um, and they cannot be near any of our top secret information. Their clearances need to be revoked. They cannot be near any kind of contracts. They cannot be near anything to do with our national security because they cannot be trusted. And they cannot be near any of our volunteer sons and daughters that are willing, that are in service to our country, willing to do whatever it takes to protect our country. They cannot be near any of them because they have committed egregious crimes that have put our sons and daughters in harm's way on American land, on U.S. soil, on our military bases for personal gain and in collaboration with Mexican cartel, those that are willing to have ties to the CCP for personal gain in contracts and to deliberately sabotage our military, our national security, and engage in criminal trafficking for personal gain. And the contracts are a big deal. None of them could go anywhere near our contracts, any government contract at all, because they cannot be trusted. They're traitors. And they serve those that want to do us harm. And you can see it's evident in our national security situation that we are right now in. And thank God, this move by Secretary of Defense Hegseth is huge, huge. And it is a symbol, it is a sign that the message is very clear, that they agree, that they know, because the evidence confirms the abuse of our country in the name of national security to sabotage our national security for personal gain. So it was a con job. It's been a con job. And it is so, oh gosh, it is so heartbreaking. I just, it's so hard to relay this kind of message to everybody. And we're not allowed to get emotional, right? We can't get emotional. But what they've done is so bad. It's just so bad. And that's what Richard kept telling us. Mom, it's so bad. It's so bad. So, you know, he's a hero. Our son is an absolute hero because with all of the traps, with all of the stumbling blocks, remember he gave us that video, right? I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow, because that's what was going on. And the illegal weapons, the unauthorized weapons that were all over the barracks. That's what was going on in the barracks. The SOPs were not being followed. It was not a place you'd want to live, which is what the SOP says their mission is. And we were there. We were there and we saw it with our own eyes. And we have been living it for almost 5 years. And we have just over 20,000 hours of investigative time, just our family. And we want to thank everybody for all the information that over these years you have been sharing with us, your bravery. Because, and you know, if we don't get to it very quickly, and I've been getting calls and I can't answer the calls because of the active and ongoing investigations, you can write to us. But the calls If you don't identify yourself, if we don't know where you're calling from, we cannot answer, because know that there is active and ongoing investigations in this case that are by multiple agencies. It's very serious. So please, if you have something to say, um, uh, type it in. Type it in. Um, you can write us a letter. You can, write us a message. So, but we want to thank everybody for all the information, and please be patient if we don't share it right away, because we have to stay very, very focused, getting prepared for these federal claims that we're making. It is sad, very, very sad to hear that Christopher Meissner just, gosh, what is it, a week ago? A week ago, maybe a little bit more than a week ago, just a day after his 45th birthday, has passed away. We do not know the manner and cause of death. We know that he has lost his life. And he was the CBP attorney that has ties to Carla Cardona. And remember, Carla Cardona is the assistant to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. Um, and his name is Sean Cardona Bernabe. Um, and she confirmed that he ordered the obstruction and interference in our son's investigation, murder investigation. Our son's murder investigation. He interfered with and obstructed, and we know he did, right? We know he did. She corroborated that information, and, giving his motive. We cannot have another Guillen situation, meaning another Vanessa Guillen situation. So that is, uh, really relevant to all of this, because Chris Meissner was also tied to Leilani Hart. Leilani Hart, and don't forget, Leilani Hart, has a notarized confession to the agencies of failing to report crimes against children, facilitating crimes against children, her illegal immigration, fraud, um, illegal purchases of weapons, um, her accusations that her son, our Richard Halliday's platoon leader, so her son is Dallas Hart, was engaged in the worst type of crimes, with his male family members, um, that while he's in uniform, that is totally illegal. Um, and it just goes on and on. Um, and Christopher Meissner was absolutely tied to Leilani Hart, very personal, and to Kyla Cardona, very personal. So, and of course, Kyla Cardona is married to the JAG NCO that is, does the redaction for cases. And there's so many conflicts of interest here, because she's also very personally um, with Eric I Love Crack Johnson, who publicly told, gosh, almost 40 people that he loved crack. Um, this is, and being connected to CBP, of course, Christopher Meissner was a CBP attorney. So this, group, you can see that they're up to no good, that they're absolutely up to no good. And we know that they're connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, 3905 Bliss Avenue, which is cartel tied. Um, and now we know through Terrence Cole, who is the DEA Did he get sworn in yet? The DEA secretary nominee that confirmed that the cartels have strings to the CCP. Um, so this is, very, very concerning because you're talking about $1 trillion budget for our military. And it needs to be watched very, very carefully because it cannot get into the hands of those that want to sabotage us, those that want to do us harm, those that want to attack our national security, our national sovereignty. Um, right? It cannot happen that way. So, we have to defend our country. And we have to, defending our country means defending our Constitution, which is the people and the land. The Constitution is the people and the land, our rights that are endowed to us by our Creator. And those rights, when they're given to us, are given to the land also. Because we are, supposed to uh, love our land, love our land. And yeah, so make the world a better place where you are at, right? Leave the place where you're at better than you found it. You know, the golden rule. Um, our country has so many wonderful values. Um, to help your neighbor and help those in need, and they were taken advantage of, and you see that in the Walmart mass shooting, because there's absolute fraud in the Walmart mass shooting victims fund. Absolute fraud, y'all. They took advantage of that money, and you're talking about $12 million. um, and there's so much fraud in that. And, because we as Americans, when we see something like that, we give. We are a volunteer country. We are a giving country. Of course, we are a consuming country, and we are a giving country. And uh, because we've been so wealthy, right? We've been so wealthy, and now we're in such debt. We're in such debt. Um, Yeah, so we have some work to do, and I could talk about economics a lot, but I want to talk about the Walmart mass shooting case because Richard's murder investigation is intertwined with the Walmart mass shooting case. And I want to say thank you very, very much for obtaining the video, another video of this individual that brought out the Enchando baby. The Enchandos did not survive, but their baby did survive the Walmart mass shooting. And we're getting more and more information by analyzing these videos very, very carefully because we are the forensics experts now, right? We have to, whether we are or not, we have to be that, right? Because we were told to investigate ourselves. We have to look at all the forensics ourselves. It's the forensics that we figured out who Nadal Baim was, right? Because Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe interfered and obstructed the case and lied to our face about who the Dollar General man was, the FBI man that said our son's remains were found in Mexico. He was dead, that his remains were found in Juarez, Mexico, and that the investigation was over. Shh, shh, and stay silent. Shh, don't tell anyone. Why don't you tell anybody about the death, the remains of a whistleblower soldier from Fort Bliss? And now we know he was a Palestinian arms dealer connected to the Harts, connected to 32nd ADCOM, the G3. His son in law is Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in Richard's chain of command. In Richard's command, G3, 32nd ADCOM. You know, and wowzer, right? And Sean Bernabe, um, who does not deserve his uniform, does not deserve his stars, does not deserve to be in our military, does not deserve any kind of benefits at all to be anywhere near our government or anything, lied to our face about that important information. And we had to do the investigation. We had to look at all the forensics. It took us months, but we finally figured out who he was, and that was pretty heartbreaking and shocking, and a hunk of evidence. He also received a whistleblower report from Judge Roger Rodriguez, identifying Leilani Hart and former CID agent, he lost his badge, Tavita Nusa, on tampering with our son's investigation on the files within the CID right there on Fort Bliss. And Sean Bernabe did not tell us, did not notify us when he went to go look for our son's remains at Christmas time. He did not notify us. We received a tip, we received a call, a wonderful, beautiful person called us to let us know. And with Judge Roger Rodriguez's identification of prime suspects in our son's murder case, it was him in early January 2022 that gave us a call to notify us that he had turned in a whistleblower report to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, at the time Major General, and many other agencies and institutions, to notify us that that had happened, and that absolutely our son was um, was murdered. Really, really, that was the bottom line, from all of the revelation, all of the evidence. The evidence confirmed that there was so much foul play, that there was no other option. There's just limited amounts of options, and there's so much evidence of foul play that the Department of Defense, the Board of Inquiry, um, uh, designated Richard, in the line of duty, murdered on Fort Bliss, because that's the only option. That's the only thing. Um, and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and Lieutenant General Donna Martin had a huge hand, and Major General David Stewart had a huge hand in interfering and obstructing the murder investigation of our son, which is absolutely, they're so treasonous. They're traitors. They're absolute traitors, and so that they need to be held accountable for what they did. Yeah, there's no other way to do this, and as heartbreaking as it is, it has to be done. It has to be done. They need to be held accountable, and all power within our government, attached to our government, has to be taken away from them, because they're dangerous. They're dangerous to our national security and to our volunteer sons and daughters. So, because I could go on and on of all the consequences that happened because of their failures in leadership, and their service to foreign and domestic enemies, because there's no doubt about it that they were serving foreign and domestic enemies. This video, and the Walmart mass shooting is a big part of it. Absolutely a big part of it. Because the more and more evidence that comes out, the more you're like, oh my gosh, They were so brazen. This is an absolute um, this is an absolute attack. This is a mutiny against the President of the United States, and that was at the time President Donald Trump. There was an absolute mutiny in 2019 and then again in 2020 against President Trump. And there is no doubt, because the evidence is so overwhelming, just like the foul play, the evidence for the foul play and the murder of our son on Fort Bliss. There is overwhelming evidence that confirms that this was a mutiny to attack President Trump because they did not like his border policies. They did not like him wanting to make America great again, make our economy great again, make our military great again, because they were intentionally destroying it. Okay? When you destroy our military, and I have the picture of Justinian behind me. And one thing you learn from the longest lasting empire in known history, Byzantium, is that you need to have a strong military. You need to have strong farmers. You need to have hard, dependable money, hard money, right? That's why gold is going up so much right now. You need to, the Byzantium gold coin was found all over the world. It was so dependable. Um, you need to have that. You need, of course, and you need to have borders. You need to have secure borders. This is what Justinian, absolutely, when you study him, and of course, and his wife, Theodora, that gets maligned all the time because she had a huge hand in family law, in the family law in the Justinian Codex. And she was adamant that that family law and property law and inheritance law were absolutely coincided with biblical law. And so that's kind of a long study, but it made America great because it made Europe great because Europe has used the Justinian Codex for their law and the building up of their country. And when you divert from that, when you don't have a strong military, when you do not have a strong judicial system, uh, uh, strong rights, um, human rights, your your property rights, right? All of those. Um, when you don't have strong farming, right? When you don't make your own food, when you don't have strong borders, a strong money, then you're not a strong country. And this is where you see President Trump right now working very, very hard. Strong borders, strong military, strong economy, where is strong money again, r- respected. You think he does the gold, the ballroom, the all of that for no reason at all, just for his pleasure? Absolutely no way. It is a symbol of our strength. It is a symbol of our strength when any kind of foreign leader walks into our White House, and it is jaw dropping. We want our White House, that's the people's house, to be jaw dropping, powerful, powerful, screaming success, screaming the success of our country. And that's what we need to get back to, is the knowledge of um, building up our country to make America great again, so that our people, all of us, can share in that success. And people need to come to this country legally, obey the law of the land. Um, and that's why these traitors, these treasonous traitors, need to be held. accountable for what they did to my son, to what they did to other sons and daughters, to what they did to our country, our border, what they did to Juarez, right? And hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked that are now mostly dead. Um, it goes on and on, the damage that they've done. Okay, it goes on and on. And evidence confirms it. And Congress has, um, you know, uh, they're not innocent. They are not innocent. And so we need to, like they said, we need to do the investigation. We need to do the forensics. And so we're very appreciative for the audios, for the videos, for the documents. Um, you know, we should have been talking for a month about the marriage certificate between Brian Blake Crucius and Alexis Mayella and what that meant to the whole Walmart mass shooting, how that proves this cover up, this collusion, this orchestration of this bloody massacre, right? In order to do a mutiny against president that wants to make America great again by closing. Um, I shouldn't say closing the border, but having a strong border that is vetted, that people are vetted. That's the true um, effort that is going on right now, and so that you don't have the Walmart mass shooting funds being uh, uh, that you don't have illegal uh, fraud taking that money, the fraud growing so much that they get institutional support for this fraud because they are traitors. And this is what happened with the Walmart mass shooting fund, victims fund. Um, the fraud is just, it just would blow your mind. And that, of course, is connected to our son's case, connected to Jonathan Ambrose, 3905 Bliss Avenue, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, Danae Katzen, who are confirmed um, con fraudsters. They're just fraudsters, and worse and worse. And so this Walmart video that we just received, it is you know, uh, it's fresh to us, so we are going to analyze it. There's a lot of information in that little video, and it really raises some questions. It does show this man that they call Ponce taking the baby out. We know that that baby has been identified as the Anchondo baby. I think Paul Anchondo. Praise God that Paul Anchondo survived. And he wasn't even crying in that video, which, uh, and I have a lot of experience with little babies. Um, that's unusual. So we're very glad that the baby survived. And we hope that the baby wasn't in shock during that. I just can't even imagine. Um, so we're going to look at everything and we want to get to the truth, right? And that's because every little thing that we find gets us closer to getting justice for our son Richard and for all those that lost. The videos are just devastating. Um, and we can't even put up some of the things that we have because it's just absolute shocking. Um, and but it empowers us to work harder so that we can get justice, true justice for these families. Um, and, you know, the money that was fraudulently taken out of the victims fund, uh, I believe that Paulo Chondo didn't get any of it. Okay. That the baby didn't get any of it. That's what our sources tell us. So the fraud needs to be replaced and restitution needs to be paid. and the money needs to go into the rightful victims of this massacre. So we're going to keep working to get the justice for our son, which means it involves the Walmart mass shooting case. There's no other way around it. Okay. So we're going to keep working for that, and giving you uh, absolutely the best. You have to come here for the truth, because the one thing I can absolutely um, tell you is that we're working for the truth. And if we get new information that debunks or corroborates what we're saying, then we will absolutely tell you. Because the media in El Paso, um, they are perpetuating false and defamatory stories. They are not dependable. Um, Clearly, and with evidence that confirms that their stories are and they're even liable, are false and defamatory. So come here for the news when you want the Walmart mass shooting. Ask questions. We will try to answer all your questions. And yeah, we really appreciate all of the information that you're sending to us. It is just we're creating all kinds of things to help visualize for everyone what happened. So thank you so much in a very respectful way. But I think that that video really did demonstrate that those that were saying that this man had a baby in his arms, that confirmed that. And so I want to say thank you very, very much. Okay, everyone. I will be back tomorrow.